The morning the HOA tried to have my grandpa arrested, I was scraping mud off my boots on his porch, wondering how a man can live 90 years and still mow straighter lines than me. Dawn sat low over the pasture like breath on cold glass. Grandpa had his coffee black as a midnight highway in, that chipped mug that says property of the county. A private joke he never explained. The flag above us was already up, catching a lazy breeze and snapping like it still had something to prove. Then I heard it dress shoes on gravel. Too fast, too eager. Trouble that had rehearsed its lines. "Stay on the porch," Grandpa said, eyes on the pecans along the fence. That quiet weight in his voice made me stand a little straighter without thinking. The HOA president came marching up than man. Perfect haircut tie that didn't belong in our humidity. 2 board members flanked him. Behind them hovered the neighborhood. Gossip folks called her Karen because sometimes the shoe, if it's hovering at the sidewalk like you can catch morality just by getting close, Mr. Whitaker, the president read off. His paper-like scripture, "You're in violation of Section 12C flagpole height, unauthorized outbuilding plus a non-compliant mailbox. We've sent notices. You've ignored them." Grandpa didn't blink. Mailbox stands. Mail fits. Mail comes. Seems like that's the point. We're past discussion, the president snapped. You obstructed our compliance officer. We're filing harassment charges. Sign the remediation agreement, or we'll have you removed. Heat flared under my ribs. Grandpa never shoved anyone unless you count the time he nudged me off the couch when I was 16 and too lazy to mow. You're lying, I said. You weren't even here. Way of statements, Karen chimed in. Chin high, voice sticky sweet with meanness. He threatened me. Grandpa set his mug on the rail so gently you could miss it. You're trembling, son, he told the president. Take a breath before you tell another untruth. Sirens drifted up Maple Trace 2 cruisers, lights rolling but no rush, like they were stopping by for pie. The president brightened. That'll be the sheriff's department. You forced our hand, Mr. Whitaker. Our doors creaked open. Deputies Morales and Hankins stepped out, hands easy, eyes careful. Friday, VFW barbecues. Church drives. Men who knew our porch by the smell of coffee. Morning, sir, Morales said. Morning, boys, Grandpa answered, like they'd met here 1,000 times. Coffee's still hot. The president shoved papers at Morales. Community safety issue. Assault on our officer. Defiance of lawful directives. We need him removed and charged. Morales didn't take the packet. He looked at the flag, the barn red outbuilding with white trim, the milk jug mailbox Grandpa kept from his dairy days. Then he turned back to Grandpa. You want us to handle this? He asked gently. Or you want to handle this? The president bristled. Excuse me? Handle what? That is your job. Grandpa's eyes twinkled in that way that makes your stomach drop and somehow settle at the same time. Boys, he said, tell the gentleman where these complaints go. Morales cleared his throat, patient as a Sunday school teacher. Mr. Whitaker is, well, he's our department's landlord. The president blinked. Karen's mouth opened like a screen door in the wind. I blinked too. Our station sits on land Mr. Whitaker donated to the county. Morales continued. Professional. Steady. The building's on a lease he set up for $1 a year until the heat death of the universe. He funds our youth program. Bought Hankins' cruiser when the budget got tight. We're grateful. Doesn't make him above the law. It means we treat him on everybody with respect. The HOA crew went pale. Karen made a sound like a tire losing air. Grandpa smiled without showing teeth. Good day when men do their jobs with their heads on straight. He turned to the president. You don't call the sheriff on my porch. You knock politely. Now. You can't. This is intimidation, the president sputtered. It's Saturday, Grandpa said, voice low. We were about to fry eggs. You brought paper and noise? Here's my answer. You'll leave. Come back Monday with your bylaws. We'll read them together like grown men. Step on my grass before then, and you'll wish your tie was a parachute. Morales coughed into his fist to hide a grin. Hankins studied the pecans like they were a miracle. They retreated stiff shoulders. Furious whispers, gravel crunching under expensive soles like the land itself had an opinion. The cruisers rolled off. Morning settled back in, flag flapping, birds nagging the feeder, bacon drifting from the kitchen where my wife had slipped inside, trusting old rhythms to hold. I turned to Grandpa. You own the... Since when? Own is a strong word, he said, eyes on the empty road. Sometimes a town needs a nudge, and a man uses what he's got. Your grandma used to say, if you want peace, build the place where peace is kept. He looked at me, steady and warm. They'll come back louder. We'll be ready, but not with shouting. The porch boards were solid under my boots. The bones of the house felt alive. The fight wasn't over. Not close. But for the first time since the HOA started sniffing around our fence lines, I felt calm. Not because Grandpa owned anything. Because he belonged here. Because we all did. Eggs. He asked like the weather had cleared. Eggs, I said. And we went inside to eat. Monday showed up in cheap cologne and stapled paperwork. By 9. The HOA had a folding table at the end of our driveway, like the county road was their conference room. The president held a legal pad thick with highlights. Karen's sunglasses were big enough to hide a lie. 2 clipboard recruits hovered behind them. Whispering like they were practicing how to be important, Grandpa sat on the porch with a fresh pot of coffee and a leather folder. I'd never seen kept under the flag stand like a keepsake and a weapon. He'd shaved with his old safety razor and buttoned his church shirt, pearl buttons catching the light. I'd mowed the ditch the night before, out of pure spite, making lines so straight they looked drawn by string. Morning, the president said, not meaning it. We're here in good faith. Good faith, Grandpa echoed. Then you'll sit, and you'll listen. I didn't sit. People who come for a fight prefer to stand. The president started reading like he had a captive jury. Violations, flagpole height, over 12 feet. Outbuilding within 30 feet of the line. Mailbox not on the approved styles. Porch railing the wrong color. Fines accruing daily. Penalties doubling after adjudication. Adjudication, Grandpa repeated, amused. Fancy way to say, we'll decide no matter what you say. He plowed on. Additionally, when our compliance officer, Ms. Karen, attempted to document violations, Ms. Karen, Grandpa murmured. She was physically blocked by Mr. Whitaker. We're submitting that to the sheriff. Grandpa opened the leather folder. Papers old enough that the edges looked winter-worn. He laid a black and white photo of the farmhouse young, and somehow the same Grandpa, grinning as a sunburned teenager. Then a thick creased deed stamped in the 1960s. Read this, son, he said. I recognized our last name before I saw the seal. The president refused to take it. We're not relitigating boundaries from the dark ages. That's your first mistake, Grandpa said quietly. You think land starts when you show up? Karen bristled. This isn't your family scrapbook. It's rules. We all agreed? I didn't, Grandpa said. You bought into a deed-restricted community, the president snapped. You were bound by law, Grandpa said. I respect law. You, I'm not sure. Morales' cruiser rolled up without lights, dust floating in the heat. He leaned on the fender like a teacher chaperoning a field trip. Hankins stayed in the car, elbowed out the window, loyal to those pecan trees. Grandpa handed the deed to Morales. Tell me what you see, Morales read slow. Reserved rights. Setbacks grandfathered for agricultural use. Utility easement on the south fence that predates the HOA by 30 years. He tapped a paragraph. No covenant established by any second-order association shall modify or diminish rights enumerated herein without consent of the grantor or his heirs. He looked up. That you, sir? The president swallowed. This doesn't apply to aesthetics. It Applies to any covenant that diminishes practice or enjoyment, Morales said. Aesthetics fall under that umbrella in our court. Karen crossed her arms. That paper won't stop progress. People move here for a standard. I took a breath and told the part nobody knew. When my grandma got sick, the county cut the budget. Grandpa sold the back 5 acres, the land where the station sits in, paid for her care. He set the lease at $1 because you don't charge men to do a dangerous job. After she passed, he kept it just in case. That's not a man who hates rules. That's a man who reads them and still does right. It's not relevant, the president muttered. It's relevant, Morales said, folding the deed with care. Because intent matters when neighbors become litigants. The president changed tactics, waving a screenshot of our porch. Even if we accept your story, we have reports of intimidation. Miss Karen, tell them what you experienced. Karen slipped off her sunglasses and looked at us both. He told me he had friends in high places, that I should watch myself. Grandpa's jaw flexed once. I said I have friends with high standards, and you might benefit from meeting them. Like a preacher saying, "You're welcome Sunday." If you heard a threat, that's your mirror talking. Morales glanced at Hankins. Any threats? Hankins shook his head. We came back the next morning for coffee. Performance slipped. Papers rustled. Confidence cracked. Grandpa pulled a laminated sheet. Let's read your bylaws. Section 1. The association exists to protect property values and quiet enjoyment. Here's what you've done. Trespassed without notice. Levied fines you can't collect under the master deed. And harassed an old man over a mailbox shaped like history. You're not protecting value, you're draining it. Silence. The flag worked overhead like it had an opinion. Then Grandpa stepped off the porch slow and careful. Morales didn't budge. The president flinched like civility was contagious. At the folding table, Grandpa laid a hand on the legal pad. You've got a choice. Double down, make this a war file papers, drag us through hearings. Or you can come to my barn Wednesday night. We'll host the block. I'll grill. We'll talk about what actually bothers folks speeding on Maple Trace. The dead streetlight by the mailbox cluster, the kids sneaking cigarettes by the retention pond. I'll pay for the new light. We'll raise money for the youth program, and you'll leave my mailbox alone. The president blinked. Karen scoffed, softer this time. Wednesday, Grandpa said. Bring your rules. Bring your people. Bring an appetite. Neighborhoods get reasonable when you stop treating them like chessboards. Like ribs, Morales offered. Cornbread, Hankins added. Solemn as a judge. A hairline crack ran through the president's certainty. We will discuss this at our executive session. You do that, Grandpa said. 2 days isn't long. Good faith. Remember. They overpacked their table. Lots of zippers and slaps like noise could replace sense. Karen paused, eyes darting toward the barn. If there's food, she muttered, label it. I'm allergic to pecans, noted Grandpa said. And if you told me the world could tilt on a word that small, I'd have laughed. But it did. Just a little. When they left, I let out 2 days of held breath. You sure about inviting them? I asked. Son, Grandpa said, tucking the deed back into leather. Men who hide behind paper haven't been fed well enough to look you in the eye. I looked at the barn. The picnic tables we'd haul, the cafe lights I hadn't plugged in since 4th of July. A plan took shape. It smelled like mesquite smoke and sounded like neighbors picking each other over noise. Wednesday, I said. Wednesday, he echoed, and the flag snapped its approval. By sunset Wednesday, the barnyard looked like a Norman Rockwell painting supervised by a fire marshal. We set sawhorses and rolled butcher paper. My wife lined up coleslaw. My sister poured lemonade into mason jars that caught the last light. Calf bulbs flicked on, warm and low. Kids played tag around the pecans. Even the stubborn rooster shut up like he knew this was bigger than him. Neighbors came in 1s and 2s crock pots. Plastic forks, the kind of talk you get when people have been cooped up by rules too long. Morales took a spot near the grill, pretending he wasn't guarding anything. Hankins taste-tested like it was his calling. The HOA president arrived with his wife's no-folding table, just careful eyes. Karen came with a paper plate and a wary face. Grandpa wore his good hat. He moved slower now, but people drifted to him the way strays recognize a man who won't kick. He told everyone evening, even the folks who'd tried to fine him. When he shook the president's hand, he used both of his like something might break if he didn't. We ate first. You fix stomachs before you fix bylaws. After the plates stacked up and the kids shifted from tag to yelling contests, Grandpa tapped a spoon on a mason jar. The lights hummed. Crickets tuned up in the ditch. "Neighbors," he said, voice carrying without force. "Paper got between people. That happens. Tonight we talk like people until the paper learns how to follow." Soft ripple of laughter. The president managed a thin smile. Karen stared at her shoes, then at the trees. Grandpa nodded to the president. "Sir, you've got the rules. Tell us why you wrote them." The man glanced at his wife, and this surprised me, didn't spin it. "We wanted clean yards," he said. "We wanted buyers to feel safe." Values went up. People felt proud. Somewhere along the way, it got bigger than sense. Not a confession, but human. A 3 houses down veteran cap snug, hands scarred raised a hand. "No one minds clean yards," he said. "But we can't fix a streetlight because the board won't assume liability. That's foolishness." A young mom, the speeding on Maple Trace my toddler almost got clipped by a delivery van. Where's that committee? An older lady in a sun hat. The retention pond fence fell. The HOA painted my mailbox the right color but wouldn't fix the fence. Then I got a notice because the fence looked bad. I don't even own that fence. Karen's voice came small. I joined the board because the park got messy. I thought stricter rules would make people respect them. Then being right started to feel more important than being neighbors. Her eyes found Grandpa. I didn't feel threatened. I felt shown up and embarrassed. "I'm sorry." The night softened the way good nights do when mercy shows up. "Apology accepted," Grandpa said. Morales stepped forward, practical as ever. "Streetlight has a county match program. If the HOA puts in half, we'll have it up in 2 weeks. Speeding wheel, roll a radar trailer for a month. I'd rather not write tickets to folks who wave at me at Christmas. Maybe set a watch and talk to the delivery drivers polite but firm." Heads nodded. Someone clapped. The president took notes like a man finally in the right class. Grandpa set the leather folder on the table. "One more time," he took out the deed. "As for my flagpole, mailbox, and barn," he said. Eyes on the president, but voice for everyone. "The law says I can keep them, and decency says I should. This outbuilding predates the association by 4 decades. This mailbox was my daddy's milk jug. That flag flew when my boy," his voice cracked, then held when my boy shipped with the Marines. "If that's non-compliant, take it up with my wife in heaven. She was meaner than you." Laughter rolled like thunder that didn't intend to strike. The president looked around at faces bright with common sense. Something eased in his shoulders. "We'll amend the bylaws," he said, surprising himself. Immediate exemptions for pre-existing structures. Heritage mailbox styles added to the approved list. Appeals must be in person with the full board, not by mail. And no more stealth photos. Compliance starts with a conversation. Relief moved through the barn like a breeze. Then he did the bravest thing I saw all week. He turned to Karen. "Would you chair the park committee again? Not compliance, Parks. Make it pretty. Make it safe." Karen blinked hard. "Yes." Grandpa leaned toward Morales. "What's a streetlight cost? All in." $2,000 with the pole," Morales said. "I'll match the HOA dollar for dollar," Grandpa said. "Up to 10. Put one by the park first. I've got grandkids who like swings." The barnyard got happy voices rising, plans overlapping. Someone promised a post-hole digger for Saturday. The veteran volunteered to repaint the swing set. Hankin said the explorers would pick up trash. No trumpets. No banners. Just that deep collective exhale when the tide finally turns. I caught Grandpa's sleeve. You knew it would go like this? He smiled, those coin-worthy lines at his eyes. I hoped, he said. Hope's a job you do with your hands. Later, after the last jar was washed and the cafe lights blinked out one by one. After the president shook Grandpa's hand and promised draft language tomorrow. After Karen tucked a plate of cobbler for a neighbor who couldn't make it. We stood under the pecans in the blue hush. The cruisers idled at the road. Blue lights off, silhouettes against the last sliver of day. Morales tipped his hat. Good night, sir. Night, boys, Grandpa said. I looked at the flag, heavy with the kind of peace that costs something. I thought about paper and barns, and how Grandpa built a police station out of love and stubbornness and $1 a year. The HOA had come with paper bullets and left with full plates and a to-do list that mattered. For the first time in months, I slept without hearing imaginary footsteps on the gravel. The house settled around a sold wood sighing, promises kept. In the morning, we raised the flag again. The streetlight crew would come next week. A radar trailer would blink at speeders like a patient parent. The milk jug mailbox would stay. And the barn, I figured, had a few more good meetings left in it. Sometimes standing up for what's right means inviting people to sit down first. Paper keeps records. People keep peace. Faced an HOA like this? Tell me your story below. I read every comment. If you believe heritage and kindness beat paperwork and noise, hit subscribe. Let's stand up together, one small town at a time.